Today's reading from 2 Kings is one of Scripture's most significant passages. It not only shows us how Jewish faith changed through the centuries, it also challenges us to live up to the unchanging ideals of that faith. 3 points. First, this particular sacred author, along with all other biblical authors, insists Yahweh's actions are never limited to just one group of individuals, even if they're God's chosen people. Naaman is a Gentile, a Syrian army officer, a frequent enemy of the Jews. He only comes to Elisha seeking a cure for his leprosy because his Jewish slave girl told him about the healing powers of this prophet and encouraged him to make the politically delicate trip. 900 years later, Jesus would get into trouble with some of his Nazareth synagogue audience when he reminded them that Yahweh ignored many Jewish lepers to take care of this non-Jew. Second, though it flies in the face of our Catholic tradition of clergy receiving stipends and stole fees, the author of 2 Kings is adamant about Elisha's refusal to accept any sort of gift from Naaman. As Yahweh lives whom I serve, the prophet insists, I will not take it. The reason is simple and irrefutable. If we're rewarded for channeling God's actions, it would appear that our actions and not God's. I don't remember that law ever being changed in Scripture. Third, there's a theology in the Naaman story that we've gone beyond, the belief that Yahweh is a territorial God. He is obligated only to take care of people who reside in Canaan. Take one step across the border and you're in the domain of another god or goddess. That's why Naaman asks to take 2 mule loads of earth back with him to Damascus. We presume he's going to spread that dirt over his property, creating an extraterritorial piece of Canaan, obligating Yahweh to take care of anyone who lives and worships on that soil. He says as much. I will no longer offer holocaust or sacrifice to any other god except to Yahweh. The 6th century BC Babylonian exile put an end to that restrictive theology. Jews forced to live hundreds of miles from the Promised Land eventually began to experience Yahweh's presence and power in a country that technically belonged to other gods. No longer was Yahweh limited to just one piece of geography. Luke's Jesus mirrors some of this Naaman-Elisha story. Though the leprous Samaritan isn't a Gentile, he's regarded as being outside acceptable Judaism. His heresy excludes him under pain of death from even going into the sacred confines of the Jerusalem temple. Obviously, the God whom Jesus channels and has become can work beyond the restrictions with which people limit him. Not only that, but the heretic alone returns to thank Jesus for the cure. The other 9 Orthodox recipients of God's favor seem to have forgotten their manners. Perhaps that's one of the reasons the unknown author of 2 Timothy zeroes in on our obligation to die with Jesus. He's convinced that only those who have died with him will live with him. It doesn't make any difference who we are or where we are. The one essential, never-changing aspect of our faith is a willingness to die with Jesus by giving ourselves to others. No future theology will ever contradict that. No matter who we are or where we are expected to always pull that off. What an insight. Yet, I suspect you, like me, rarely thank the historical Jesus for sharing that insight with us. We just take it for granted and walk away from the person who died for us.